Hi, I'm Charlotte. You're watching The Ugly Atheist, and today's episode. Before we start, um, I want to enhance your viewing pleasure. It is advised that you watch my videos at 2.0 or at least 1.5 speed, so that because I speak obviously very slowly as I am gathering my thoughts during a recording, so I try to edit out a lot of the pauses, and I do edit out a lot, but it's still slow, and I can see how it can be boring to a lot of you, even to myself. So, speed it up when you watch my videos, and it'll reduce the duration of the agony. Now, let's get into today's episode. There's an anonymous case of a 56-year-old college professor who received the heart of a police officer killed by a gunshot to the face. A few weeks after the transplant, the recipient said that they had dreams of a flash of light right in my face just before that time I would get a glimpse of Jesus. That's exactly how Carl died, the donor's wife told researchers. She said the main suspect looks sort of like some of the pictures of Jesus. An online survey among 23 heart recipients and 24 other organ recipients found that nearly 90% experienced personality changes after the transplant surgery, no matter the organ they received. Most patients in the study said they experienced four or more personality changes, and most of these changes had to do with temperament, emotions, food identity, religious, spiritual beliefs, or memories. And this is all according to an article in Science Alert. The article titled Eerie Personality Changes Sometimes Happen After Organ Transplants. So, as the title of this video suggests, we're exploring the idea that our organs hold memories, much like our brain does, and the phenomena that happens when an organ of somebody who passed away rather violently, or otherwise, but mostly violently, their organs, when transplanted to the recipient has sort of personality changes and changes in food preferences and sometimes bad dreams, bad memories. There was a famous case where one gal received the heart, I believe, of a murder victim, and through the crazy dreams that followed, was able to sketch out the killers, what the killer looked like in her dreams, and the police were actually able to make an arrest. I'd have to go into the details of that story if I can find it, because that seems really far fetched, but um, it's not impossible. I mean, it's something worth looking into. So this phenomenon is called cell memory or cell memory theory, I believe. According to it was a publication in a journal called Quality of Life Research, and they interviewed 47 patients who received heart transplants over a period of 2 years in Austria. I don't know why it matters where the geographic location is. Researchers found that 79% of patients did not feel their personality changed post surgery. 15% did experience a change in personality. So we have a story of a 9-year-old boy who received a heart from a 3-year-old girl who had drowned, then developed an intense fear of water. Despite having no knowledge of his donor's cause of death, the boy developed an intense fear of water. On this story says on March 11th, 2021, this is from Psychology Today, by the way, Christy Seidler woke up with a new heart after a life-saving transplant. The 52-year-old was groggy, faded in and out of consciousness. Once she was cogent, her first thoughts were about her donor. I said to my husband, I feel like I have the heart of a mid-30s woman. She had a rough life. She came from a rural area and had a tough upbringing. It was a sudden thought, and Sidler moved on. Despite the arduous challenges of recovery, the process went well. Soon she was walking, then running, living the life she had desperately desired before her transplant. Several months later, she called the procurement organization. Could they tell her anything about her donor? Yes, they said. She was a 37-year-old woman. Sidler's instinct had been correct. Um, just about the age, though. They didn't go over the rough life part and the rural. Why did that thought pop into Sidler's head? Is it possible for biographical or other information, a favorite food, a musical taste, a unique phobia, a memory of a traumatic, even fatal injury to be transferred from one individual to another through the heart? It seems inconceivable, yet this phenomenon may well occur. Documented cases are both extremely rare and utterly shocking. And one possible interpretation of these stories involves scientists questioning the conventional wisdom about how memories are created and retained. Yes. So let me pull up another article because this one kind of touches on what might be going on here. A recent study on this is from this is by Dr. Jesse Santiano, posted in on their own website. It looks like so. It says a recent study on the mast space learning effect in non-neural human cells has shed light on a memory-like behavior in individual cells. Scientists discovered that even non-neural cells, like in the kidney, can exhibit enhanced response to repeated stimuli. So it's similar to how our brains form stronger memories through repeated exposure. However, this type of cellular memory differs greatly from memories we think of as part of the human experience. It refers to biochemical processes within the cells, not conscious or emotional recollection. So that any memories retained by our muscles or organs are essentially the same thing as muscle memory, where it's retaining a pathway, a neural pathway, and it's not the same as a cognitive memory. Um, so repeated experiences could leave a neural pathway imprint, if you will, on an organ, but that the organ, when transplanted into a new patient, that organ's going to experience different inputs. So it's going to take a while for those old ones to rework themselves. However, that's assuming that nerve endings even reconnect. I don't know how long it takes for nerves to reconnect from an organ transplant procedure. I know veins obviously have to reconnect right away, and doctors suture the major ones together to allow for life-giving blood to flood into the newly transplanted tissue. But I have a hypothesis of what might be going on here. I don't think that, I guess statistically, so few organ recipients have this phenomenon where they take on new personalities or new food likes and dislikes and new or have strange dreams of the donor's life. Um, so what I think is going on, the only way I can explain it is sort of what had happened to me many years ago. Um, and bear with me as I kind of flesh out this anecdote, if you will. Back around 1999 to about 2002, I was experiencing these very disturbing neurological symptoms, including things like fasciculations and slurred speech. And I did a lot of research online to try to figure out what was going on with me. And I was able to rule out almost everything except for the scariest things like ALS or MS. And so I was convinced it was ALS, and I was checked out by many doctors. It just felt like my brain was not getting signals to my limbs and my muscles. And so I felt like this slight delay in reaction. And I felt like, oh, at any moment now, I'm going to lose function on some part of my body. Um, Fortunately, that never came. And after some years of agonizing and going from doctor to doctor, all of which were inconclusive. I was finally sent to a neurologist who worked with ALS people. And within 5 minutes of talking to me, he said, "You don't have it." And he explained how he knows that. He had me walk up and down his office once, and that's when he was able to definitively conclude that I don't have ALS. And that was quite a relief. Those were, I think that was the darkest time of my entire life. I felt so isolated and alone. I couldn't tell any of my fears to my family. Um, I didn't feel like there were safe people at that time to relay information like that to, at least not my spouse at the time. And so I kept a lot of this to myself, and I was just agonizing. And it got so dark that I thought, okay, if I do have ALS and my future is going to be nothing but months to a handful of years of just getting worse and worse every day, I might as well, end things myself. That's the only time in my life I ever had those kinds of thoughts. And like, I didn't want to be a burden to my family or anything. So you can imagine the incredible relief I felt when the neurologist told me I don't have ALS. And I bring up that story because this is my point. After I got the all clear, I started almost immediately having these very strange changes in my, um, I wouldn't say personality so much as preferences in foods and experiences. For example, I randomly just wanted to smoke a cigar, and so that was the first time I enjoyed I bought a cigar because I had also just recently got a new job, so I thought I wanted to celebrate, and I bought a cigar, and I actually enjoyed it. That was just so random. And at the same time, I also developed this random uh, love for Dixieland jazz music, or jazz from the 19 teens and 20s. And I immersed myself in learning about that time period in American history, and jazz and the styles and fashions from back then. I also was felt this strange desire to want to learn how to ride a motorcycle. Um, and I was researching that and wanted to save up because I couldn't afford the lessons required at that time, let alone a motorcycle. Um, and but now that I can, I probably should look into that again. My point is that there are, I think, when somebody approaches death's door and they are turned away, as it were, or they are turned away and their life is spared, I feel like whether consciously or subconsciously, we take an inventory of our lives up until that point. And often in our lives, we settle into routines. But when you have such a jarring experience, I think we re examine our routines and we think, wow, there was so many things I wanted to try in life, but if that had actually been the end of my life, there was a lot of things that I, is that routine all that my life would have been? Would that have been my legacy? So you have this personal inventory that you take, and then it compels you to try new things, or think differently about things, or try new foods, and you can easily develop a new craving for something you've never had before, as cigars in the case of my experience. Um, and so yeah, it was a very, I think, if I had, instead of a fear of ALS, if I had been an recipient, an organ recipient, and I had these same changes in tastes and personality, or experiences that I wanted to try, I can easily see how me as a human being, as a pattern seeking animal, as somebody with an overactive cause and effect thinking mechanism, would come to the conclusion that, oh, my donor must have been into cigars and motorcycles and Dixieland jazz. Maybe they were a musician or something. That is more or less what I think is going on with these organ recipients. Um, I think that they had approached death's door and had that personal inventory at some point when it looks like they were actually going to make it through, and they erroneously conflated that or associated that with their donors. And does my explanation account for all these instances? Probably not, but I think that's largely what's going on, and it fits in with the research where our organs don't actually retain those kinds of memories, cognitive memories. Um, any memories they do possess are more along the lines of muscle memory. So I guess that's more or less. I don't know what your thoughts are on this matter, if you've had any experiences with this kind of thing or know anybody in person who's been an organ recipient. Um, but if you care to leave a comment and have a discussion below. So I guess I'll leave it there for today. I appreciate you watching. I really appreciate when you comment and like. So hopefully, if you like this kind of content, you will like and subscribe. And my name is Charlotte. You are watching The Ugly Atheist. I will see you next week.